Hello, hi, what's going on? Thanks for stopping by. So today we're gonna talk about how I like to plan a day trip. Day trips are super fun, they're super quick. You can just, on a Thursday be like, I wanna go somewhere, and Saturday morning you're literally going. You don't have to take things for overnight, you just take things that you need for the day. And the best part about it is that you get to see things that are just completely different from what you're normally up to. So the first thing I'd recommend for a day trip is that it is no more than a 3-hour drive. With a 3-hour drive, you're giving yourself, 6 hours of driving in the whole day, which isn't necessarily too much, but you're also just keeping yourself kind of contained to a specific area. So for instance, when I went to Zion, we drove there in the morning. We left super early. We had a full almost 12-hour day, I think, and then we drove back. We did a ton of things, we had a lot of fun, and it wasn't an overwhelming oh my gosh, did I forget something that I need for tomorrow morning or whatever. It was just we're in, we're out, we're back in our beds. So one thing that I personally really like to do is I will plan ahead several trips. I've actually done Zion in a day multiple times, and what we like to do is it's okay, we're gonna go in, we're gonna do one hike. It's gonna be almost half of our day there, and then the rest of our day we're just gonna go do some sightseeing. So what I would recommend would be to have one big thing that you're gonna do, like a hike, and then you're gonna have something a little bit shorter, a few multiple things. I would recommend having more than one option though as your big ticket item. That way, if it doesn't work out on the first try, you have somewhere else to go. Two, if you don't get to hike A and you end up doing hike B instead, you'll still have hike A for another weekend. Okay, so I use 3 books all of the time, and these 3 books are just absolutely perfect for the way I like to plan trips. What I really like about this first book is that it's a national park book, and it just has, every national park listed in there. It doesn't have monuments and it doesn't have the national forest, but if it's a national park, it's there, and it will just tell me exactly what I should do. And even some of the times they'll say okay, here's a perfect day trip, do this. So that's really helpful and convenient. And then this last book is actually perfect for just the country in general, as well as Canada. Obviously I'm talking about the United States. So it just gives you a lot of options for where you can go and what you can see when you get there. Surprisingly, there are plenty of locations within a 3-hour drive of almost any given city. For instance, I live in Las Vegas, and if I go 3 hours in almost any direction, I can go to see almost anything I want to see, including Disneyland. So you can just literally start looking at a map and just be this area looks cool, drop a pin, figure out where it is, and then put that into Google, see what there is to do in these cities. One thing I'll always do is search hiking in this area, camping in this area. Whatever the activity is, search for it. So if you're wanting to swim in hot springs, then you should search hot springs near California, and you'll be surprised, or I guess not surprised, that you just get a whole laundry list of places that you can go. So some of the rules that I always follow, I start with making sure, like I said, I pick 2 big things I want to see in a park. I'm only going to go to one of them. I just want to have a backup plan in case plan A does not happen. I would make a list of everything else that I like to do, since that there are hot springs at one end of the park, but there's this super cool tree that fell down that everybody wants to see at the other end. I need to kind of decide which one I'd want to see first or more. If you find there's something that you want to do that requires a reservation ahead of time, I highly, highly suggest you do it. For instance, I know in Mojave National Preserve, there's a set of caves. You have to make a reservation ahead of time, otherwise you can't go. Honestly, if you have a reservation, that'll make planning your day so much easier. I really, really do like to do for a day trip is kind of plan out the drive time that it's going to take me. You put it into your Google Maps and it'll take you to the beginning of the park, but it's not necessarily taking you to your first destination within the park. And your first destination within the park could be an hour deeper in than just the entrance. That will just save a lot of headaches later when you realize I really wanted to go to see that part of the canyon, but I can't because I spent too much time in the car and now I don't have the time. So I would say that most of the time we'll plan our food before we leave for the parks. So basically, weekly, that just ensures that we get the most time to do things. If there's restaurants you want to go to, make sure you check their times, and I always like to bring at least one extra meal just in case. You don't ever know when you're gonna pop a tire or whatever's gonna happen. The next recommendation is to write a schedule. If you write out a schedule, you kind of have an idea of how your day is gonna go, and you can rearrange things as need be. Also, with you writing out the schedule, it doesn't have to be exact on the dot time, but if you're factoring in your drive time, you're factoring in how long it might take you to hike something, you can kind of get a good idea of how long you're gonna be in each area and how much you're gonna get to accomplish. Definitely just always be prepared. Things can change at a moment's notice. You can arrive somewhere and it turns out the whole road is closed, they're at capacity, you're not getting in. Just be prepared. Okay, so what if you want to go somewhere that is not an established location? For instance, you want to go to a national forest. You don't know anything about these trails out here. You just know that there's super pretty mountains in the distance. You see trees on them and you want to go there. What I would recommend you do is you go to the Bureau of Land Management's website or the Forest Service website, and you can type in that forest and you can look for hikes that way. It is a little bit trickier because they don't necessarily give you all of the information that you might get if you're on a national park website, but it's a super convenient place to look. If I'm doing a trip like that, I will have like my main focus is hiking, let's say, and then at the end of the day, we're just gonna like hang out in this little meadow area. There might be hot springs. There's a lot of hot springs in Nevada. I do only recommend going off trail if you know what you're doing. It is incredibly difficult sometimes to figure your way out and where you're going. You should look into taking a class. Perhaps your local REI is offering a class where you learn to read a topographic map, and that'll help you pinpoint where you are better. I spent months in school learning how to like locate myself on a map without any help from anybody, and I even still have problems doing it. One thing you might not think about either when you're looking at the Bureau of Land Management website, as well as the Forest Service website, is that there are ATV and dirt bike trails, and they're listed on these websites. So you can take those trails and you can hike them. Be careful of motorized vehicles and don't, get hit by one. But you are totally able to just kind of like walk through there too. Because they're actually a lot more cleared out, so you don't have to worry about like brush and vegetation and rocks. So if you're not in as good a physical shape, you're still able to like go on a hike and experience the wilderness. And of course, one last thing to remember, whenever you go anywhere, just make sure to clean up after yourself. I personally will bring my knives, spoons, forks, anything I need from my kitchen, and that way I'm forced to bring it home with me and I can't leave it somewhere. Also, always just try to pick up trash whenever I see it, even if it's not mine. I love the wilderness and I want to keep it pristine for others, and I hope that you will too. Okay, so thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give me a little thumbs up and subscribe, perhaps. It's okay if you don't want to, I won't be mad. And I hope you have fun exploring. All right, I'll see you next time. Bye.